ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Is that what you wanted to know? Yeah, adenosine triphosphate. It's made by the cycle in your body called the Krebs cycle, and operates at its best when oxygen is present. So, peptides. We all have them. Tons of them in our face, tons of them in our body. It's any two proteins stuck together by definition. But what's important to understand about peptides is not all of us need peptides. And that's where I get into the 3 reasons why peptides don't work very well. So the peptides I use to temporarily plump the skin, because if you get a bunch of peptides stuck in your epidermis, they'll draw water to themselves, they'll make the skin look plumper, and it can help fine lines. When you use peptides in the skin, sometimes if it's an epidermal problem you're trying to fix, so I use this really good peptide that has studies saying it helps epidermal repair. I can see that might be possible. Not totally sure, but I like it, the concept of it, and so I use that peptide. So I use a couple peptides. And honestly, like I said, a lot of the things you could call them peptides. But we're talking about these peptides that we're all buying and all these serums, and we're wondering how do they work and what are they doing. Well, here's the first thing you need to know. If I put peptides in a petri dish and it makes a cell do something, that's great. That probably is really true. That peptide probably activates something at that cell in that petri dish. But does my skin, is it lacking that peptide, or is it doing the same thing in the cells in my body right now at 100% capacity? It may very well be that. So one of the key things, number 3, is necessity. Are all the peptides that I'm presenting to my skin something I have a shortage of? Can my skin respond to them if they're present? That may or may not be true. Let's just assume that in a majority of cases, your cells do have a mild to moderate necessity for that peptide. But again, why wouldn't your skin make that peptide? Well, maybe it's starving, like it doesn't have enough nutrition. So I'm just going to give that one a maybe. But then we get to the next problem, which is penetration. You see, peptides don't go into the skin very easily. So the idea that you could put a peptide into the skin and it would not get dismantled, because all these proteins get dismantled on their way down, if they even make it on their way down. If they don't get dismantled, great, but in general, that's one of the problems. So penetration is never addressed. So when I do a petri dish study, the petri dish worked out great because I didn't have to go through the skin layers in order to make it happen. But on a surface level, what I'm pointing out to you is that very often, the only time you ever see a peptide research study that actually was tested on human skin is when they're measuring surface volume, right? What was the first one we ever heard about? I believe it was Matrixyl. 300% improvement in wrinkles. I don't know if even 10% of the companies in the world today still use that product. How could something that improves wrinkles by 300% not be used a decade later? Because the answer is it was temporary. This is all temporary results, right? So that gets to the last part, which is also stability. If I put a bunch of peptides in a water solution, which is 99% of skincare today, they fall apart. So the GX30PGPXY7 peptide that has magical results somewhere, it turns into something else by the time you pump it out of your bottle. Or it turns into something else by the time your skin absorbs it, if it even absorbs it at all. But the reason why I know that peptides aren't the solution, trust me, I would make all kinds of peptide products if they were, is because I never see the results last. If I stop using my peptide serum, my results go away. That tells me it's epidermal. That tells me it's epidermal. If it's dermal, real dermal repair activity, then I'm seeing scars change from it. I'm seeing lines that will look better even when I stop using the product. That's what is different about osmosis. People will stop using the product and their skin will still look good because it's not all about plumping. It might go backwards a little bit because I have a few peptides that help make it look a little bit better. You know, hyaluronic acid. We know that there's hyaluronic acid in our dermis and our dermal goodie bag, if you will, that holds the density of our dermis, does shrink. And we think, oh my gosh, hyaluronic acid, I'm going to help replenish the hyaluronic acid in my skin. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Hyaluronic acid's a monster molecule, and it just sits on the surface. Even if you use the smallest micro hyaluronic acid, you're not getting it past your epidermis. But it's nice in the epidermis. It draws water. It makes plumping and moisture happen. Sure, great. We use it. Fine. Temporary. Okay? So you will always see that. Tell me if you found a product that uses peptides that you stopped using and the results stayed. I want to know about it because I'm always searching for that. But I never did see it. So that's the problem with peptides. Again, I'm not against them because what we used before peptides was acids. Glycolic acid was, a decade ago, the peptide of choice by definition, right? But it worked by hurting the skin and causing inflammation. At least these only work by drawing fluid to them. It doesn't hurt the skin. Stem cells and growth factors. This all started, and I remember I still had, where was I in my phase of my career when plant stem cells came out? It's a good 7 years ago, maybe right around then. And the first one was an apple stem cell from Switzerland, as I recall. And my immediate intuition was, this isn't doing anything. Because, of course, a plant stem cell doesn't turn into any sort of cell. A plant stem cell has nothing to do with growth factors. It is a group of amino acids. So all these plant stem cells came out because everyone needed a story because they weren't getting permanent results. You see, that's why this industry is full of story after story. And 5 years ago, you were so excited about X, and you will hardly use it today. And 10 years ago, you were just as excited about Y, and it's not even in any of the skincare you use today. Aren't we tired of that cycle of disappointment? And the bad news was, and I'll tell you, and I know some of you have laser clinics today, but, lasers, we went from burn the bejesus out of everybody to just kind of burn the bejesus out of everybody, to now let's just burn the bejesus out of holes in their face. And oh my God, that is becoming a disaster. So pay close attention if you have those lasers to the clients who are coming back to you after roughly 3 treatments with orange peel skin, massive pore enlargement, collapse of their dermal structure. It's happening, and it's happening pretty quickly. And my guess is that is going away quickly. So the whole Fraxel thing, I think, is moving out. We can talk about Botox. Botox should be moving out. So, the idea that your skin, let's just think about your density of your skin. If you've ever looked at a slide to see how thick your dermis actually is, it's about that thick. Your muscle thickness is about that thick. So in many cases, the thickness of your muscle is thicker than your dermis. And everything from your bone to your stratum corneum makes up the density of your face. And and your muscles are holding the density of your face on your face, and you're standing up a lot, so gravity is constantly pulling on those muscles. And what's happening in a scary level of consistency is people's faces are collapsing because the muscle is weakening and it is thinning at the same time. When you weaken and thin the muscle, it'll slowly fall down on you. So the fix for that has been plumpers. And I don't have a problem with plumpers, except that you're no longer looking at the same face anymore. So now their muscles are still thin, but they're injecting something in to make up the difference of the density so they can come out instead of what their muscle was there before. So my belief is that's craziness, okay? I did Botox in my face once in, I think, 1997, and I injected it for about 1.5 or 2 years, so I was guilty. I was right in that train, right? And then I realized that botulinum toxin, besides whatever other stuff it may be doing to your body, your neuromuscular structure, your what do I want to say? Your brain stem is right there. It's carrying through the lymphatics it could be going anywhere in your body and killing off that brain. When you say, oh, but it regrows over 3 months, well, a new ending to that nerve is actually recreated. Not every time, right? That's why these muscles keep dying down. So Botox does not make you younger by any stretch of the imagination. And as your face sags and you start injecting more, you change and you see all of these movie stars and people that you can watch their progress over I hesitate to say progress, but their changes over that decade. You will see they have to hold it up And I don't know, with Stevie Nicks, like within the last year, talking about every time she sneezes, like her forehead collapses over her eyes or something. It's real. It's going to happen. There's going to be a massive class action lawsuit. It's all going to shut down, I bet, within the next year or two. That's just my guess. Now, I've been predicting it for the last 3 years, so it's holding on. But, so, lasers, be careful. And you will see people with permanent changes that you can't fix. That's the scary part of what's out there. Acid peels, layer after layer after layer of acid peel. You start getting to number 10 acid peel in your skin history. You know, in medicine, we talk about smoking pack history, and that determines their level of cancer risk. And I'm telling you, there's a chemical peel history. If you've had more than 10 chemical peels on your skin, you are going to have age spots faster. You are going to see changes in your skin that you don't want to see because your skin is being burned repeatedly, just like sunburns. So you know how the number of sunburns you get determines your skin cancer history. I'm not saying chemical peels increase your skin cancer risk, but they increase your age spot risk. They increase the chance of you getting enlarged pores. Look around. I don't mean to badmouth any other line, but look around at the skin of the people that have been working for those other acid peel lines for a long time. And their pores are getting really big. And their skin is looking awfully crepey. And that's the reality of just too many acid peels. It's not making your skin healthy. That's the summary of that.
Are you talking about the medical grade acids? Are you talking about the dermatology?
No, I mean certainly phenol is the mother of all mothers as far as melting the skin, and then you work your way up to TCA, or I should say less, and then but all the acid peels, absolutely. Now, I mean I believe that any amount over 5%, you're starting to create damage on the skin that has some level of damage. Now, if you're just burning the epidermis, your skin can replace that pretty well. But so often those acids reach your dermal epidermal junction. It doesn't replace that very well. So that's the one that's taking and becoming permanent. You know, when I used to do TCAs all the time, and my clients would start getting broken capillaries, what was that? That was the skin creating blood vessels to heal the damage of the dermal epidermis.